It's the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Welcome one, welcome all. My name is Jake Riepma, fired up to be with you after a Lions victory.
Natalie Kerwin here with FanDuel Sports Network. It was the defense that really showed out today, but I just got to say I did my research. That 78-yard touchdown by Jahmyr Gibbs, reaching 22 miles an hour. You guys, I tried to compare what animal that was the top speed to, and I know I'm already dragging this on, and it's supposed to be quick, but that reached the same speed as a capybara at full speed and some iguanas.
Bradford Banta here, 22-year NFL veteran. You know what? This just wasn't another Monday night. It was a Detroit statement night because Gibbs was a highlight waiting to happen, and the no-name secondary just made every Buccaneer wish they stay in port.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
Indeed, it does. It's the Locked On Lions Squad Show post-game edition, and the Lions back in the win column where they belong. Jake Riepma alongside Natalie Kerwin and Bradford Banta. Phenomenal post-game show lined up for you. We'll talk about that defense, and maybe, guys, this was the Kelvin Shepherd game. I think we can bill it that way. Some big plays from Jahmyr Gibbs as well. Of course, we'll have our biggest talking points, turning points, and so much more. But Bradford, raring to go. I can feel it. So I'm kicking to you first. That defense balled out. Nat, we're going to get your takes here in just a second as well. But I think we're all on the same page. What a game for this defense.
Well, I tell you what, Dan is going to stand up at that press conference and he's going to give you a little nose rub and he's going to be like, holy cow. He's like, there's just that next man up mentality. I can already hear it right now. He hadn't even thought about what he's going to talk about at the press conference. But the no-name secondary, we talked about it in the middle of the week. Nobody that started the season played tonight. And those guys came through. Kelvin Shepherd called one whale of a game and mixing coverages, confusing Baker Mayfield, and he just didn't know where to throw it. And the thing that was surprising is that he was off on the intermediate routes. He was throwing them high. Mm-hmm. And he even looked like he was cramping up a little bit towards the end of the game there. So, fortunately, Millette came back. Yasin, I don't think came back. He came back once, but he didn't come back again. God, there were some guys, and they were talking about it on the TV. I mean, these guys are making names for themselves, and this is what they sold them on during the week. Go make a name for yourself for the 31 other teams. Even if you're not, if you're doing it here, fantastic. If you're not doing it here, you got it on film that you can do it in the NFL. Go make a name for yourself. And tonight, these guys did, because we got a little bit of pressure on Baker, but golly, I don't know if y'all noticed it, but every time they passed the ball, man, they were double and triple teaming Hutch. And then Aleem McNeil making a play with the bat. I think it was batted ball. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, batted pass at the start of the second quarter. Big third down play there. I thought that was awesome to get him involved, so he kind of, get him a little bit excited. And the crowd was rocking. So I can tell you that right now. It was a good win. Why? Because the defense came through. We were able to put, 24 points on the board. That was fantastic. But at the same time, offense really couldn't get going. They had big plays that got them going, but nothing truly sustained except for that first drive. And, after that, it was just kind of, okay, no big deal. But whenever the defense was on the field, and the thing that impressed me the most was the last, the second to last drive, I believe it was. For the defense, they took so much time off the clock, even though they were on the field because Tampa was in 4-down territory no matter what. But the clock just kept ticking. And the receivers, if they caught the ball, they stayed in bounds. And that clock just kept winding down and winding down and winding down. And eventually, hey, whenever it gets down to triple zeros and we're on the plus side of the score, 24-9 last I checked, it's a victory. Lions going into the bye week with a 5-2 record, having the tiebreaker, so to speak, over Tampa Bay right now just because of the victory. I just thought it was fantastic. Nat, I know I was rambling a little bit, but please, the floor is yours.
Hey, we like it when you ramble because you're spitting facts here, and I could say all the same things you just did, guys. We talked about it on our last episode as we looked at the injury report, and when the suspension came down on Brian Branch, we all said, look, the offense is going to have to carry the team in this one, right? Like, you look at the secondary and you're like, we haven't even heard of half of these guys. My job when we do our midweek squad shows is to go over the transactions and the new guys that we get on, who's elevated from the practice squad to the roster and all that. And half the time we haven't even heard of some of these people. And so tonight, for those guys to come out and actually make a name for themselves shows that this team actually has some depth in that group. And not only is that going to give them confidence moving forward, I'm giving them the game ball, obviously, just that entire group. I think Dan Campbell is going to give them a hell of a speech in the locker room there tonight, and they all deserve it. And so, no, this wasn't Jared Goff's game. After that first drive, it just felt like he never really got in a rhythm. You got him outside the pocket, and it just, we talked about how tough Tampa's defense is. They love to blitz. They did it all game. And I don't even know how many times Jared tried to kill the play. I felt like I heard him say, kill. It was constant. So it wasn't his night. So the defense was able to come in, and I love that we can hype them up for once. I feel like it's been all about the offense all season, but I feel like we can really hone in on the D here tonight with this group. And it's a bunch of guys that we never even have been able to talk about, which is kind of fun. And one of them here is local, Nick Whitesides from Saginaw Valley, which I never knew. And I'm like, Jake is going to be so hyped up about this.
Well, listen, I am absolutely. It was on my notes to get to as soon as you closed that statement out, because this is crazy. I remember calling play-by-play in 2022 when he was at Saginaw Valley. He was making plays then and making plays against my Northwood Timberwolves. Now he's in the league making plays. And to your point, though, it just exemplifies what this next man mentality up defense was all about. And we saw it on full display tonight. And I think that play he made on the Buccaneers 2-point conversion was a critical turning point in this game, because at that time it's a 14-9 game. The Bucs get that 2-point conversion. You're looking at a field goal game. We've talked about at length how the offense just couldn't really get going, and a 3-point game turning into, instead, by him making that play, it stays a 5-point game, and the Lions offense goes down and takes care of business. But yeah, some huge plays, and really neat to see guys like that step it up for sure. But guys, the defense, when they play like this, and it felt to me in the first half a little bit, though, I was getting frustrated a little bit because there wasn't the complimentary football that we see from this team from time to time. And I know that's getting a little nitpicky, and the Lions won the game, and that's most important. But this team, by what they showed tonight defensively, and now you combine that with, at times, this offense that has been one of the best offenses in the National Football League, you're looking like a dangerous premier team that we know this team is capable of doing. We just want to see it all together at the same time in the same game.
I couldn't agree more. And if they hit that gear, and if they find that gear, then watch out for the rest of the NFL, because now they're going into a bye week with a lot of momentum. They're going to have a few days off. Some bunch of guys are going to be in there getting treatment. And it's just exciting to see. To get back to what you were talking about earlier, guys, Tampa had 9 quarterback hits and they had 4 sacks tonight. So they were able to get to Goff. But at the same time, it was fun to watch the team just play they did, because Jared, I felt like Jared had a solid game. He was 20 of 29. He had 241 yards and like a 91.3 rating. And then he was, you'd like to say that he turned the page, because usually whenever he turns the ball over, they come in waves. And because he was responsible for the 2 turnovers tonight, talking about the, he had the fumble and then he had the interception, but the defense was able to respond to that. And it's a different team. So you got the 2024 Lions. Now you got the 2025. It's a totally different personality. And it was fun to watch the defense respond to sudden change. And the way they responded, we had the fumble. Tampa had the punt. Then we had the interception. And, they ended up hitting a 53-yarder at the end of the half. But then, they come out, they have, so they have a touchdown, which I believe you alluded to earlier. But at the same time, that's when Gibbs busted out for the 78-yarder. That was an answer. And that in years past has not happened. So it's a different team. It's a different mentality. And I like the momentum that this team has going into the bye week, because hopefully you can get a couple of guys back, and knowing whenever you do get them back, that you have guys that are behind them that can play. And, if those guys have to go back into the game, Kelvin Shepherd may have to adjust his game plan moving forward, or in-game adjustments, depending on who he has out there. So it'll be a fun team to watch moving forward. But just talking about tonight, it was a fun game to watch. You kind of like, oh boy, just a couple times, but not that much.
Right.
And that was the fun part. Even in the second half, after we answered their touchdown with a touchdown, defense came back out on the field, and they just made Mayfield's life, I'll say it, it was a living hell. He did not have fun out there tonight.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get pumped up, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, we couldn't see that aura, or that what is that? Is that what the kids call it? Aura, his swag and everything else that he likes, and smack talking and everything else. And that one way to do that is just silence it with the pads, like the Lions defense did. But Nat, curious your take on just the Lions kind of. It seemed like they were playing defensively. Yes, we've talked about it at length, with just that extra step, and just Tampa Bay's receivers just felt like they were never open. I saw one comment in there, was nice not to have penalties all the time. I thought the secondary played a cleaner game as well, which we've talked about at length on this program. Sometimes the Lions defense specifically struggles with that component of the game.
And maybe it's because there's a guy not out there tonight with the initials of TA. We can read between the lines.
BB.
Yeah. Yes, that was, you could tell a difference out there, that's for sure. And it did feel like this group played a cleaner game, and especially for not having as much experience with the live reps out there, it was nice to see. And so, it did feel like they did a great job of shutting down, Tampa's weapons that were out there. And granted, when Mike Evans went down and got hurt, they were, that's a guy out there that can do a lot of damage. And so they didn't have to deal with him for, the second half of the game once he went out. But I do feel like they did a good job of limiting what they could have done. And with Baker as well, we just talked about his aura. I mean, he's a guy that can turn it on and can make, flip a game on its head if he wants to. And the Lions were able to hold him down and the rest of that Tampa Bay group throughout the entire game. Because I was getting a little worried at the end that just somehow the Lions could maybe get a little complacent. You have it in the back of your mind because it's like, hey, we have a little cushion here, but you don't know, because Baker is that kind of quarterback that can make it happen in crunch time. We've seen it. And so it was just good to see the Lions hold it down and walk away with the dub on this one.
No, I felt that way too, especially because the Buccaneers in general, just as a team, have had so many come from behind wins this season already, and they've won so many games late. But no, this Lions defense. Yeah, no, for sure. They stayed on the gas. But let's do a deeper dive on the defense and offense as well. We continue with our post-game show right here on the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Your comments, always welcome. We'll do a better job of mixing them in as we go along. But opening quarter in the books. Don't go anywhere. We cruise along next on the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends over at Rippling and Rippling.com. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but right now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance, all in one place. Now, that's pretty cool, huh? They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software created. It's seriously simple to use, people, and it gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. And right now, you can get 6 months free. Wow, 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. That's RIPPLING.com/LockedOnNFL. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. Rippling.com/LockedOnNFL for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is also brought to you by our good friends over at Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is such a fun and simple way to add more excitement to football. You just simply pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing touchdowns, and bam, you're in the game. My favorite part, Prize Picks just added stacks. So if you want to ride with a player, you can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup, like Jahmyr Gibbs. Stack that, baby. It's also fun to follow other players in the app and copy their lineups with one click. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use that code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Back with you on a live Locked On Lions Squad Show. I've got my finger guns up for some reason. I couldn't really see them on the camera there, but that's how I'm feeling after a Monday night victory. Bradford Banta, you're laughing at me. Are you not feeling that way? I mean, is it not a finger gun victory kind of night for the Detroit?
No, it's a finger gun victory. I'm just wondering when we're going to the third segment after that commercial. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Let's talk some ball.
Yeah, let's do it. You guys know I cover the bases here. Just got to keep those checks continuing to be signed by old Locked On and making sure we keep the lights on here. But yeah, let's talk a little bit of ball here. Natalie Kerwin, we talked about this defense.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we talk to me. What do you want to talk about this Detroit Lions defense?
Well, At the beginning of the game, I said to myself, if this group can somehow make it happen and hold this Bucs team down, this is going to be such a great story to talk about. But I did not know what was going to happen. I really did have doubts. I mean, because I thought we would be highlighting the offense at the end of this one. That was my prediction. I mean, I think that's what everyone thought going into this. So I don't know if it's that we want to highlight individual guys. I mean, obviously, Nick Whiteside had such a great game. This was the first start of his career. And then you talk about Eric Hallett as well, Thomas Harper. I mean, Arthur Millette. I don't know if it's the fact that we break down just the fact that these guys are, I don't know. I mean, they really are. It's like a group of nobodies.
Not anymore, though.
Not anymore. But it's just I just think it's so cool. I love stuff like this. I really do. I know that that's nothing specific with this group, but I love that Calvin Shepard has molded this group to show out in the way that they just did. I mean, we're not there at practice to watch how these guys play, but I'm sure in that locker room, the whole team would say these guys practice harder than anyone, even though they're not seeing the field every Sunday or Monday night, they're stepping up and we have depth when we have guys out. I don't know. I think it just goes to show the grittiness of this team, as we always allude to as well. I think it's great. It's going to benefit the Lions later on if they continue to deal with injuries too, which I think is important, right? Like this bye week is coming at the perfect time right now, but it goes to show that if this continues to be, fingers crossed the injury bug does not continue to be a problem, but if so, it just shows there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's.
Yeah. No, shout out to Brad Holmes and his crew.
Mm-hmm.
For just churning the waiver wire and having reports on everybody that they run across during these meet and greets that they go out, and they'd be like, hey, what's your name? Do you run a 40? Okay, let's time you right now. And some people, they may turn over the hourglass. Other people, they may be like, hey, that's a pretty good time. Hey, we'll put you in the database. That's essentially what they did with the secondary in signing these guys. And that's why I led with the show, is just the no-name secondary, because Dan's going to give these guys props at the end of the game in the locker room. And I'm not even sure he's going to refer to them by name. He may just refer to them by number. Some of these guys you just don't know.
38.
Right?
Game ball.
Exactly. Thank you. No, but at the same time, I have to give another shout out to my man Art Millette. Art is a Louisiana boy. We signed him at the Saints as a rookie, and my man, he has stuck around and he has played some ball. And look, I can remember back in, was it 2017? I believe it was, whenever we signed him, he would come in, and there was another special team standout that we had there at the time. He went on to play for the Jets with great success by the name of Justin Hardy. These two would go at each other every day at practice, because the one was PO'd at the other because one was on practice squad and the other one was on the active roster. And then eventually both of them got elevated to active roster. And just goes to show, if you're persistent, if you work hard, good things are going to happen. And good things happen to Art tonight. And he has had good things happen to him over his, now he's made this into an 8 year career, which is absolutely fantastic. And that goes with the rest of the secondary. If you can show that you can play in this league and make plays, you're going to grab somebody's attention. All of these guys, with it being a primetime game, grabbed attention of the other 31 teams. I mean, heck, even Rams, and who played over in Europe? It was the Rams and Jaguars.
Jags,
yeah. I mean, look, those guys are probably still flying back from London right now, and they were watching the game on the plane. And so I mean, guy, I can guarantee you the Rams are still flying back because they got to fly all the way back to LA. But it was just fun to see. I can't say enough. And what the defense did, what Kelvin Shepherd did, was that he eliminated the chunk passing plays by Baker Mayfield. He tried it once with Mike Evans over the top. He had to catch, and then he got injured, and the ball came loose, and then it ended up being incomplete. That, in my mind, was a huge play. And, my man, Chad Otten, the tight end for the Tampa Bay Bucks, look, he had 7 catches for 65 yards, 9.3 average along at 20 yards. But you go back and look at the tape, he had a rough night. He had the one-handed grab that Millette ended up taking away. Mm-hmm. And then he had the supposed first down that we challenged. And then the official, the white hat, ended up getting brought back over to the sidelines after that ruling was upheld. And then the front office with the NFL was like, I don't know about the spot. If he would have had the ball vertical, he would have had the first down. Instead, he had the ball parallel to the line to gain, and then he did not get the first down.
Yeah, I wanted to go. I'm glad you brought that up because I have on my list of just a couple of specific plays, and you talk about the defense making a big play. That was one of them where I'm watching it in real time, and I'm not sure if you guys had this exact same reaction, but in real time, I thought, wow, his knee's down before he's stretching the ball out. And then the way the play transpired, okay, he stretches the ball out, it pops, it pops out, and just instinctively people are going to jump on it like it's a fumble and then run it back and review it and everything. But the challenge, it seemed like, because there was the 2 different reviews that took place, and the whole time I'm like screaming at the TV, no, it's just catch short of the yard to gain. That's all it was. And they were saying, did he complete the process of catching? I was just like pulling my hair out. What did you guys see in real time with that play? Because that was another game-changing play where it wasn't quite in the balance yet. And obviously the Lions getting the ball back there, they gave them an opportunity to put it away.
Yeah, watching that all unfold, I didn't really I thought it was just kind of wild that they came back out and said, after a second look, where the tackle was, Otten was actually short of the first down.
Yeah, he also announced it in the weirdest way.
Right, like that's what I wrote it down exactly how he said it because I wanted to make sure I repeated it exactly how it was said because I'm like, wait, what? I just feel like there was something, just the way it all played out, the entire sequence was funky to me. And so, the way I saw it, I mean, it looked like it was going to be close. It did look short, but I wasn't sure. And then when they came back and said it was, I didn't expect them to overturn it. I mean, it's a game of inches, man. Like, I don't know. It's just, it was just a strange sequence to me. That's what I took from it. But, the challenge obviously worked in the Lions' favor. So you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions got the ball back, and they ended up getting, the field goal out of it, which I thought was great. He tied his career long 58 yards.
Yeah, that was. Let's talk about that one.
Wild.
That was also
okay. I got that written down in my notes. What?
This is all you, Brad.
All right, take it away.
All right. So, he tied his career long with 58 yards. But do you have to call a bank shot? Should he be allowed to be given 3 points?
Yes,
if he didn't call the bank shot.
That was that distinct sound of the ball hitting the upright. No. I'm just like, I'm just like programmed to think, oh, dang it, he missed it, because very rarely does it hit and fall in like that. But then how about the Buccaneers sideline? I know the camera panned to Baker, and it seemed like their whole sideline was like, yeah, it's no good. And it's like, What do you mean it's no good? We all just watched it, and then they showed a couple of different camera angles, and it was clear as day. I don't know if it was just because of his angle or what, but it was so clear that it was good off the upright and in.
Well, yeah, but the best was Aikman. And he's like, well, I don't know if that field goal was good. And I'm like, you got two guys standing directly underneath the uprights, and their sole job is to judge whether it goes in or not. And
we got one of these. So we know.
And then they go, the screen's a little narrow right now because there's three of us. They did. There you go, Nat. I love it. But, both of them look at each other. They nod. And yes, it was good. And I'm like, Aikman, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Let the guys on the field make the call. You can doubt it all you want, but it's still good. It's like it took the inline camera angle to convince him that the field goal was good. And I'm like, what, bro, come on, man. It's not like there's a few situations, one primarily whenever the ball goes over the upright. And you're whether or not, is it good or is it not good? And there's rules pertaining to that, but some of it's judgment. I will tell you that. But in this case, from 58 yards and you're banking it in, bro, if they say it's good, it's good.
There's a distinct horizontal bar that it crosses.
Yes, I know.
Maybe it was his angle, but I don't even want to give him the benefit of the doubt. It just seems weird to me. Whatever.
Yeah. One of several kind of strange plays in this one, but we can all agree and summarize the story of this one. The Lions defense, they played fantastic. We will talk a little bit more about the offense and some of the challenges and struggles they had tonight in a Lions victory. Keep that in mind, a Lions victory. I've been reading some of the comments as we've gone along here. The sky is not falling. The Lions won tonight, 24-9. We'll talk about the offense next. Don't go anywhere. It's the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends at Mazda. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS top safety picks than anyone else. And that's of August 2025, because Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. I'm talking from footwork to breathwork. Athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings the same level of intention to how we craft every single model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel anything but everyday. From smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, who's feeling moved? Who's feeling moved and be moved and ready to go? Listen,
let's talk offense. Come on now. All right, I'm moved to talk offense.
I love it. Jared Goff, my king, our king. Not exactly dynamite tonight, 20 of 29. I thought the Bucs had a pretty good game plan for him, but who was dynamite? Jahmyr Gibbs, over 200 yards from scrimmage. And we've talked about the 76-yard run, 78-yard run? 78-yard run where Nat informed us he was faster than an iguana and some other animal. I don't know what animal you named. Yeah, you gotta help me with that. But I give you the floor. That was incredible.
A capybara? What was it?
Yeah,
it's
I don't know.
Giant rodent. Have you seen them? They look like giant guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Where? I'm the only one that hasn't seen what. I'm not even sure what you're saying. What is the name of this giant rodent?
All right. I'll talk first, then I'm going to throw to Bradford, and I'm going to pull up a picture of a capybara. Okay.
Capybara.
Yes.
Okay.
Australia. Yes. Wetlands Productions knows what's up. Thank you. You always come through, whether it's for Bradford or for me. You always know. Let's talk about that 78-yarder because Sonic turned on the Jets in a way I feel like I haven't seen. I feel like that was unbelievable. That run was awesome. He is unfair in space. I love watching him. He's unbelievable. And I know people are talking about David Montgomery, just not getting enough time out there. And it just seems like he hasn't showed up the last couple of games, but Gibbs has just had the hot hand lately, it feels like, and for good reason. It just both touchdowns, 2 touchdowns for him tonight, but that one was electric. I texted you guys that. Like that was awesome to see. Put the Lions up 14-0 in the second quarter. It was awesome. It was great.
I couldn't agree more. But here's another one. You're talking about people turning on the Jets. So, and I know everyone noticed, and they pointed it out on TV. Whenever Jahmyr Gibbs caught basically the flare route, and then Penei Sewell, was out there rolling. Yeah, even though he didn't get the block.
I was just gonna say.
He ran right by.
He whipped on the block.
Well, here's what he was. Look, he kind of. I don't want to get too much into coach speak and all this kind of stuff, but
no, we want coach speak.
You want coach speak, okay? Penei Sewell, offensive lineman, right? 300-something pounds, running what? Let's just say at that time he was hyped up, running a 4.8 down the field. Jahmyr Gibbs. He has to just get into his hip pocket and set up the block for Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell is not going – if he were to break down and try to block a DB, his feet and his shin and his knees would stay in one place, and then from his thigh bones up would be slammed into the wall if he were try to break down and try to block that DB. Instead of, he just runs right by him, which is fine. Jahmyr Gibbs has to make him look good, set him up, and then scoot out to the right and just stay in his hip pocket. You can't tell me that Jahmyr Gibbs can't keep up with Penei Sewell.
Right.
That's what he had to do. Instead, he was I'd say about 7 yards behind him. If he was about 4 yards behind him, he would have scooted in for a touchdown. No problem. No problem at all. Yep.
I think he scored on the very next play with the dynamic spin move because that's what he does. But I was watching that same thing. Like the big fella, I love I don't know the football term for it, but basically the tomahawk to the defensive end and then then spin out. And the big fella ran all that way. You got to reward him by setting up the block better. So I do agree. It was on Gibbs, but he had a pretty good night.
Nat, I got a homework assignment for you.
Okay.
This coming Thursday, I need you to find out what the next gen stats said Penei Sewell's speed was on that one particular play. And then we have to come up with an animal that he was running at that speed. I'm saying, have you ever seen a hippo run like on land or a rhino? Let's go with a rhino. It's tougher, rhino, tougher on land type deal. I'm saying he was about a rhino. He was running like a rhino. You scratch the homework. We've already decided.
We're just going straight for it.
Yeah, because you're gonna be flying off somewhere doing the Pistons and all that kind of stuff. So you don't even worry about it.
I bet if we cross-reference his speed, Penei Sewell's top speed against any other offensive lineman this season, it would be the fastest. I'm pretty confident in saying that. But but no official way to prove that. All right. A couple other things on the offensive side. I don't know where the exact comment was, but we've talked about Jahmyr and maybe his lack of production as of late. Another game. I thought he was really good against Kansas City, obviously, but for whatever reason, that always gets brought up in the comments. You had Amon-Ra St. Brown with 6 catches, 86 yards. Gibbs with 82 yards receiving, Brock Wright with 3 catches. So the guys that were really held in check, Sam Laporta, 3 catches for 15 yards, and then Jamison Williams did not register a catch. So I know we've talked about it, concern level versus taking what the defense gives you. I mean, this Bucs defense is very good as well, one of the better defenses in the league. Any concerns with the lack of production from Laporta and or JMO today, or just more of a product of what the defense was giving you?
I don't know. I might turn this over to Bradford, but I feel like it's just been multiple games now with Goff and JMO where I feel like they haven't. I'll just talk about JMO specifically right now, but I feel like they haven't connected consistently. And, I think a lot of it is what the defense gives you, but it does seem a little funky that they're not. I mean, when you look at his stat line for today, the fact that, you look at zeros across the board, only 2 targets. It's just, that just doesn't seem right between the JMO that we know that he can be, that we've seen with him. Laporta too, it just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't when Jared was making his reads. Laporta just wasn't, part of the picture today. And just had better options. It's just hard to say. I guess I'll just throw it to you, Coach. What did you see? I guess, what do you see from that perspective? You have a better outlook on this, I guess, than I can answer. Because a lot of people do have some concerns, especially with Jamison Williams.
Yeah. So with Jamison Williams, there was a comment earlier saying that's one cause for concern, that he could raise a ruckus in the locker room for not getting the touches, not getting the catches. I personally don't see that being a concern. The reason being is that is such a strong room, and you have such a strong leader with 14 that I don't see it being a thing. And the conversation that Goff is going to have with Williams being, hey, it just wasn't your night. But you also have to understand what defense you were going up against. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a long pass play. We had run after catches that were long, but we truly didn't have a long passing completion pass play. We averaged 8.3 yards per attempt, but I'm not worried about that. And as far as Laporta's concerned, I group that into the tight end room. So if you group it into the tight end room, the tight end group had 6 catches tonight. And, that equals Amon-Ra St. Brown's catches. So, no, I believe me, those 2 things are the least of my worries. My worries are just making sure is managing the roster, is making sure everybody has review the film, see what was good, what was bad, what we can get better at. Have a good couple of days, light workouts, have the guys that are injured show up to treatment every day, and come back the following week ready to take in. I believe we take on the Vikings, correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah, take on the Vikings the following week, because that going into not really the second half of the season, but the preseason of the second half of the season, talking about game 8, you want to be at as much full strength as you can going into the latter half or into the month of November, and then just lead that charge all the way through January and February.
No, absolutely. And I think some of the they mentioned it on the broadcast tonight, a big game against Tampa Bay for potential playoff seeding implications and things of that nature. But as far as the scoreboard watching with the rest of the division, it's we do it all the time because that's what fans do. But I don't think, obviously it's a day by day ordeal, but with the Vikings, the first game after the bye, obviously a divisional matchup, so important. And, I think anyways, for me, after the bye week, you start to turn that page. And even though it's not officially the halfway point of the season, you start to have some of those conversations that feel like, okay, we're really getting into the crunch time of the schedule and that nature, which is exciting.
It is exciting. I feel like, it's every game's important, but that is when you really start to feel like, it just, the stakes get higher and higher the closer you get to, the end of the regular season. And tonight was a perfect example of a high stakes game and what that atmosphere is like. And, we've seen the Bucs before in the playoffs and the caliber of team that they are. And so, coming back from the bye, playing a divisional team like the Vikings, hopefully the Lions get some of their guys back and have some, get some health and are able to carry that and take that momentum as they continue through and kind of, as I guess they're going towards the peak, if we want to call it, of the season, the halfway point, and continue to go, and just keep stacking good weeks on good weeks. So
100%. The Lions gave up 4 sacks tonight. They sacked Baker Mayfield 4 times. I think the offensive line can play better, but not a perfect game by any means. But Bradford, any cause for concern over the offensive line play?
Not right at the moment. They went into, if you were watching the protection, and they were running a lot of 6-man protection, just to help Goff out whenever. I can't think of what quarter it was. Whenever they had a secondary blitz off the Detroit Lions right side, whenever that player came in untouched. They were going from right to left, I believe it was. The offense was. I saw David Montgomery. He was up in the middle of the line looking to leak out for a check down. But look, Todd Bowles is a top-notch defensive coordinator and head coach in this league. And he's going to design stuff that's going to get you. And you're not always going to know what he's running. I'm talking about coverage, or talking about blitzes, or just some of the D-line stunt schemes that they have coming your way. You also have to figure that you have an athletic, I don't know how tall Vea is, but I do know he's 340 plus, and he is very nimble footed for such a big man that he is. And he wreaked havoc on the inside. There was one play that he was one-on-one with Ratledge, and it showed. And that was one of my concerns going into this game, was Ratledge paired up on Vea. And look, I thought it was a good game for Ratledge to learn. Every rep, every game that Ratledge has this season, that kid is going to learn, and he's just going to get better and better and better. And is there a cause for concern? No. That's where Fraley comes in, the offensive line coach. It's his job to teach him. It's his job to coach him. Now, is he going to nurture him all the way? No, he's going to coach him, and he's going to coach him hard. That's what you would expect, because this is a production business. If you don't produce, then I had a defensive coach that used to say it, then ass out, you're gone, and that's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you don't produce, you're out of here. And everybody has a role on this team. And once you understand that role and you fulfill that role, and I believe the offensive line understands their role, and I believe they did a good job, not a great job tonight, of protecting Goff, then you're going to have a successful run.
Absolutely. All right, we got time for one more segment. Jahmyr 33 is going to be our guest host. Looking forward to that. So that's coming up next on the other side of this break. This episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL season is here. FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It's that simple. I love how FanDuel gives you so many ways to play, built-in parlays, player props, and even the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. And as always on FanDuel, odds are subject to
change.
Is that going to be part of the Pistons tagline again this year, Nat? Are we going with the FanDuel?
Yeah, of course. Do you want to come on and do our ad reads for us? Because we got a lot of experience.
Absolutely not. Which, by the way, can't wait for the Pistons season. In a maybe like a 1 minute or so summary of what we should be looking forward to for a little Detroit Pistons action.
Wow, switching it up to basketball real quick. Okay.
Yeah, this is just for our guy, Jahmyr 33, because he was enjoying the program. So
yeah, I can tell he's really loving this Lions Squad show. So this is for you, Jahmyr 33, because I don't know if you're a Pistons fan, but I'm gonna make you one right now.
We got some good advice from Jahmyr. We need to trade Waymo and Montgomery. So that's what we're working with here.
And Wetlands Productions seems to be questioning that as well. I think I'm with you there. Are you famous now, Jahmyr? Nope, I don't think so. Okay, back to basketball. There's a lot to be excited about. Pistons made the playoffs for the first time since 2019. Last year, they tripled their win total. They went from a 14-win season to 44. And it's a team of just young guys that are hungry to win. You guys, in Detroit basketball hasn't been on the scene here in the state of Michigan for a long time, but they're finally on the come up, and they're really exciting to watch. And we have a great group of people. We have George Blaha, who's been here in the state of Michigan forever calling these games. I'll be going into my 4th season. It's such a blast. Tune into FanDuel. Just feel like Cade Cunningham, he's a superstar that's developing right before our eyes. He was a first-time All-Star last year, and it's a group that's going to make some noise in the Eastern Conference this year, I think. And don't write them off. I mean, all these Detroit teams are on the come up, and the Pistons are one of them. So if you haven't tuned into a basketball game, just give one a chance and see what you think. And that's what
I love it. We'll be dialed in. We can't wait for that.
First game is Wednesday.
Wednesday. All right.
Home against the Bulls.
The Bulls. Oh, yeah. It's in Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
There it is. All right. We got our hoops coverage. Now we got to tie a bow.
Here we are.
I want to bring something up. Heading into the bye week. Food for thought to get your thoughts about it. And I want to see people's comments about it. So got a little time. Personnel has time to think about stuff. Everybody's jonesing for another edge rusher. 2 guys out there that piqued my interest. One's a hometown guy, and the other one's the last year in his contract. Would we be able to pull the trigger, or would we pull the trigger on a Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson trade? What would it take? I'm throwing it out there. Food for thought for everybody that's on the show. Jake, Nat, and everybody that's watching and listening.
The Max Crosby conversation is fascinating because I was all about it last year, right after Hutch went down. I remember talking about that on Locked On Lions with Matt Derry when I went on the Daily Show with him. And just saying, why not? A Michigan guy played at Eastern. It would mean a lot to have him suit up for the Lions and wear the Honolulu blue, but it just didn't happen. So maybe this is the year. I am hopeful for that because obviously he's a game wrecker. You pair him with Aiden Hutchinson and you've got an elite pass rusher that just got that much better. So let Brad cook, I believe is what they say about Brad Holmes. I don't know how he'd be able to make it work, but I would love, and I know it's going to come as a surprise because I was all about making a big move for Trey Hendrickson as well. So,
yeah, I mean, I'd love him, but what are you giving up?
Yeah.
That's what you worry about, right? So it's hard. And you do got to trust in Brad, let him cook, right? And they put a great graphic up there tonight of just his luck and the guys he's drafted, the people he's brought here. He's a smart guy, right? Like you got to trust in what he does. But it's just hard to think for someone of Max's caliber, of Trey Hendrickson's caliber, someone so elite like that is a game wrecker. You would have to give up either multiple picks or good pieces that you have now. And it feels like it's just, we're married to a lot of those good pieces now on this team. And it's just hard to know what would this Lions group have to give up? So it's just hard to know. I'm a little stuck. I don't know if I have an answer right now, Bradford.
Yeah, it's
where are you at?
Where am I at on this? Because I mean, we were talking about it in the preseason, and with the Trey Hendrickson hold in, but then you have Max Crosby that has so many Michigan ties, and especially close to the Detroit area, with him going to Eastern Michigan and then the success he's had out at the Raiders, and with him being just a little bit banged up right now, does it make it a little bit more inviting for the Raiders to offer him up in a trade? And I don't know what his contract says. I don't know anything. I think you would get more. Golly, if you could have one or the other, which one would you want? I think the hometown crowd would go with Max Crosby.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That way he could go to the Detroit Lions during the daytime, do his day job, and then, saunter over to Ypsilanti at Eastern Michigan and do his assistant AD or whatever job he has over there now, instead of just Zoom calling every time that, they need to run something by him. God, I mean, what do you have to give up? That's what I don't know. And, and Nat, I have to disagree with one of your comments you said about Brad Holmes, just talking about the luck that he has had.
Okay.
So it's not luck. Every player that they bring in has been thoroughly vetted, and they know what they're getting. And if I know, talking coaches speak again, and being around Dan, and I would imagine that he has instilled this into Brad as well. So it's all about the vision for that player. What's your vision for that player? Can you tell me what that is? And that's what Brad, I would assume, and no, I don't want to assume because it makes an ass out of you and me. I want to speculate. That he has instilled that into his personnel department to have an answer for that one particular question. What is your vision for this player? And I'm talking about the no-name secondary that played tonight. I'm talking about Muhammad whenever he was brought in. I mean, every one of these guys, there's a reason that they have hit home, they have a very good slugging percentage. I'm bringing baseball terms in here on players that they bring in because they know what they're getting. And it's not by luck. They have a vision for that player, and they tell that player before they even come here, this is our vision for you. Do you see that for yourself? And if they say yes, then okay, come on. If they say no, then there's a little bit of doubt, and it may be a next man up mentality. So when I say vet, you'd be surprised at how deep these guys dig on to find out what kind of personality that player is, because they want to know everything about that particular person. You know, and this is what I tell a lot of people, you know, and I'll toss this out here for y'all. If I were to come to you and be like, Jake, Nat, I want you to invest $900,000 in this particular, let's just call it the widget, in this widget. What's one of the questions that you're going to ask me?
How
Are
fast
you
I
gonna,
make my money back?
yeah, exactly. How fast can you get your money back? And then what can you tell me about this widget? Why is it so special that I need to invest $900,000 in it?
If Bradford Banta is in charge of it, I'm in. Count me in. I'm like a shark on Shark Tank. I'm in.
But that's essentially the rookie minimum is the $900,000. And if you're asking somebody to invest close to $1 million, which what they're asking the Fords to do is to put, you know, a minimum investment of basically $1 million into a player, they're going to want to know every little stinking thing about that person.
Right. I mean, the cliche is how much of a business it is. And I know everybody says that, but it truly is the business side of it. That's so important that Brad Holmes has excelled in, without a shadow of doubt, for a lot of these players that he's been so good at bringing in. So, but
I'm with you. Yeah.
But hey, Lions are 5-2 going to the bye week. How about that? We got a W, huh? How about that? The shows are more fun after a victory. But we are about out of time. Thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight. Bye week. So that means we'll have our show Thursday. And this is also a perfect time to determine what exactly we are doing during the bye week. I'll get back to you on that. I haven't talked with the bosses, but I just started talking there and had no idea where I was going with it. But hey, we'll have a show for you guys on Thursday. That's for sure. For Natalie Kerwin and Bradford Banta, I'm Jake Riepma. Nat, final words.
Yeah, Lions going into the bye week with the dub against a team that I think they can take a lot away from. Learned a lot. A lot of guys stepped up in a lot of ways, and it's a good confidence booster. They needed this, and I'm excited to hear Dan's locker room speech. I'm going to try and go find it on social media after we're done with this, because I think it's going to be pretty hype. But to put a bow on it, 24-9, to hold the Bucs to just 9 points. What a performance by this defensive group. Let's go into this bye week on a good note.
Good timing for the bye week. Let's regather our thoughts and then come and let's make a run for the playoffs, and let's make it our year.
I love it. For Bradford Banta, Natalie Kerwin, I'm Jake Riepma. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you on Thursday. The Lions are 5-2 heading to the bye. Good night, everybody.